Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Jersey Comic Crew, your favorite podcast for all things pop culture, comic book, TV, and that's right, Stranger Things.
That's right.
We're talking about today. As always, I am your host, Chris Heller, and with me is the great
Rob Moran. Nice to be here, as always.
And definitely be wary. This is all spoilers for Season 3. Definitely check the description below. Hit that like, smash that subscription button.
I mean, the description is we're talking about Stranger Things, and we're reviewing it, and you better be ready.
Yeah, exactly, because we're talking all Stranger Things. It's all going to be out there. We have surprises for you. We have the whole review. There's a surprise for Rob as well. Yeah, I don't think he's seen this yet. It's going to be awesome. But anyway, so Stranger Things Season 3 dropped on July 4th.
Yep.
Aptly, because it was basically centered around July 4th in the show.
The day. It was only 8 episodes, so it's shorter than the other seasons.
I loved it.
But this is the best season.
It's up there with Season 1, yeah.
So, which season's better?
No, honestly, I don't know. I haven't, like...
It's been 10 days.
Yeah, I mean, I finished it...
On the 14th.
I think I finished it, like, 3 or 4 days after it came out.
Okay.
It's really good.
Yes.
Very good. I love the way they have like naturally let the kids grow up. It's not so much centered around like they have to be young, they have to be little kids, they have to be this. It's more kind of a natural progression of, hey, they're gonna grow up regardless, right? Yeah. We might as well just flow with it.
And it worked well because like this season more than the other ones is like, oh, they're growing up and they're growing. Here are the growing pains. Here they're coming out of age. And this season puts the series in a great position to transition themselves beyond just, oh, we're just kids hanging out, into more of like, oh, this is what's going on in the world, and now we have to deal with it because we're responsible because we know stuff.
Yeah. So, and it's more like we're teenagers, and there's more dynamic, there's more, relationship things going on, there's more, emotional things going on. Again, like the awkward teenager phase seems to be like in a renaissance period right now with awkward teenager movies and TV. Yeah. Even like stupid things like Big Mouth is like all about awkward teenage...
Oh, Big Mouth's so good.
Big Mouth's great. So like this was very much the like, hey, we're not 10 and 11 anymore. This is more like, hey, we're more like, 13, 14, getting into that teenager phase of like our focus is shifting a little bit in our lives as well as, how we get things done.
So I thought the show, let's just jump right into it. I thought the show did a great job at having different clusters of people doing different things, all working towards the same goal.
Yes.
So we had like the regular friend group, doing their own thing. We had the parents doing their own thing, and then we have Dustin, Steve, and
continuing that relationship, which I think is absolutely brilliant. If you're gonna have one of those kids kind of break off from that group, it should have been Dustin because everyone just wants Dustin and Steve to do whatever.
Well, it's not that he's breaking up. Like he got like
no, but like in this season, he's barely with the friends, right? Like he's maybe like 2 episodes total out of this 8.
But it worked,
and it did, yeah.
Because like the last season, Will wasn't with them. No, not Will.
Yeah, Will.
Yeah, Will wasn't, and the same thing with season 1. And so like that's kind of like a theme of like, oh, one of them are separated, and the group still goes on, even if the whole friend group's not there. They're still gonna be friends and hang out. And then when the friend comes back, it's like they never left. And that's a direct parable to life, I view. Because, like, let's say I have a friend group from, like, high school or college or whatever my friend group may be. One of us is gone. He's moved out to Massachusetts. The friend group still hangs out without that person. Yeah. And when they come back, it's like they never left. And we all hang out and have fun times. And that show is kind of building that into the series of these kids growing up. And young viewers watching it, like, oh, it's okay for me not to be with my friends all the time because I could just come back and we'll be picking up like where we left off.
And in the 80s, it's a different time period, right? Like now it's like you go play video games, you're online, you could talk to anybody around the world. You have phones and technology. But in the 80s,
staying connected is easier now.
Staying connected is a lot easier now. In the 80s, it's a much bigger thing, people leaving, right? Because it's like really you have like a phone call. And
how cute was it with Dustin? Is like, oh, I built Cerebro so I can talk to my girlfriend in Utah.
That was great. So yeah, like the premise is Dustin kind of comes back from camp.
Yes.
And Mike and 11 are like hardcore dating.
Which is cute.
They're hardcore dating. Lucas and Max are dating.
Cute.
But they're a little more like the normal couple because they're kind of like they've been dating and they've been on and off.
They broke up. They got back together. And then Will was just... Can we just play Dungeons and Dragons?
Will was great, man. Like,
poor Will.
I loved Will because he was just like... So, Will had a lot of controversy around him on that one scene. The scene where he kind of flips out at his friends after trying to play Dungeons and Dragons, and he like dresses up and he sets the board up. and
they really
they're
don't
worried about
care.
their girlfriends
Yeah.
and stuff. And he leaves in a huff, and Mike says like, "It's not our fault you don't like girls." I don't like. A lot of people are trying to say,
Oh, there's an outcry for
there's
this.
there's a little controversy around it, stating that like a lot of people are like, "Oh, does that mean Will's gay?"
No.
Or does that mean? I don't think so. I just think like
He could be, but that's not.
he could be,
the point
but
of
I
that.
don't think it's the point of that either. I think it's just the natural progression of his growth is way lower than everyone because he's been in a monstrous universe for the
Yeah.
past 2 seasons while everyone's kind of had a normal life.
And people go through puberty and change at
Yes.
different rates. So, like, I think them looking at as a gay issue, I don't think is proper.
I don't think it's proper
Let
either.
me ask you a question though, since we're talking about that subject. Steve's friend that works at Scoops, what's her
Robin.
name? Robin, thank you. She revealed to him that she liked this girl.
Yes.
So now, but like she also likes Steve. I don't know what to accept. Is she both?
Apparently,
Is she?
from what they've said, she
Yeah.
is gay.
She's gay.
But to me, it didn't seem like, because to
It
me
didn't
the
even come
whole
off.
it didn't make sense to me because it seemed like the whole season she was in love with Steve. Like there was something there. Right? Like, it's not just me. Like, I think I talked
agree.
to a bunch of people, too, and all of them were like, yeah, it didn't make sense because it seemed like there was something there.
I was fine with them saying, like, with the show, them revealing that, like, she liked that girl because, like, she's questioning her sexuality. That's another, growing pains that a lot of people go through. Like,
I think in the
am I
80s,
gay? Am I
80s is a
straight?
big different time for that.
Also, yes, in 80s, you can't even fully even allowed to think about it because then you're viewed as a monster. And she confided with her friend that she has these feelings. Now, this could mean that she has that feeling about with that one person, and maybe it's just a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Maybe she's always felt this way, and she's just straight out.
Or maybe Steve's the one person she felt that way with.
For men.
For men.
Yeah,
and-
because it's all on the spectrum, and like everybody is different. So them exploring this is just another version of growing pain when she's older. I do think, though, Steve and Robin were the best dynamic duo
I think so.
in the whole series, and I do want them to end up together. But if they don't, and she's with some chick and they're just best friends, I just hope that she's still in the series.
I think she will be. I think my issue with it is they set it up as she was it was a great storyline, right? It seemed like she had feelings for Steve throughout the whole thing, and she mentions like, I sat behind him in this class and you didn't remember me. I was a nerd, I was in band, I was in this. He's the pretty boy jock who got every girl and never noticed me. And now that Steve is out of high school, right? Like everyone has that that awakening of you're out of high school, whether you were like nerds like us or did you play any sports? You played sports? What did you play? Dungeons and Dragons, Yu-Gi-Oh,
No, in high school, I joined football, then I broke my ankle.
Beyblade.
I joined football my sophomore year,
Okay.
and I did maybe a couple of practices. Then I broke my ankle like right after. But I was gonna quit anyway.
Well,
I had to put that out
yeah,
there.
I was gonna go there.
I was like, man, this shit's stupid. I like it. It's fun working out, doing this, but I was like, I'm gonna quit. Then I broke my ankle, and I was like, cool.
Yeah, so like
I'm not doing this
Like
anymore.
I played a couple sports, so I actually was more.
Yeah, I don't think you were the nerd. That's why I made that face.
Well, I was more on the jock spectrum, but my personality was so nerdy.
At my school,
I don't make sense at all in any aspect.
at my school was different because there wasn't like we had people who played sports, stuff like that, but is it really broken up into the jocks and nerds? I mean, there was some
always
people
there's always cliques
that were like really nerdy, and then some people were like douchebaggy jocks, but it was more. Especially like I guess it's like a lot how it is today. It's more centered,
and there's
it's
more,
like oh you're a little this, you're a little that,
but you have cliques.
Yeah.
And so like I played sports. I was way more nerdy though as far as personality and friend groups. But I was I was never that guy. You know what I mean? I was never like the
head
popular
honcho?
head.
No,
No, not
yeah,
at all.
I wasn't either.
Not even close.
I think in college it's a little different.
College is different, but in high school like that's what
Go ahead.
Steve was. Steve was like the popular, good-looking guy with the hair who every girl wanted. And it seemed like Robin was like, she hated herself for how much she wanted to be with him. That's how it made it seem in the beginning and throughout most of the show. I'm not sure if her reveal was cool or whatever, and I'm like, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it's fine.
But it's one of those things that doesn't make sense based on how they set up that storyline, because post high school is where you start actually becoming a decent human being for most. Where it's, well, for some, for where you kind of figure yourself out, right? Like high school's getting through that next level of school. College is finding out who you want to be. So
after college, he's dealing with a crippling depression that you're not going to be what you thought you were.
Exactly. So high school is in that realm.
That's so sad.
High school is in that realm where, like, Steve graduated high school. He didn't get into the colleges that he applied to. Mm-hmm. He's kind of having a sobering moment right now of like, hey, stuff that mattered does not matter anymore. Like, and he has that in the beginning, like Dustin says it to him, right? Like where he's like, oh, that girl, like she's talking to him, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, Dustin's like, what's wrong with you? Like the girl in front of you is right there and is awesome. And
she's
great
decoding Russian.
Yeah. And she's funny and she's smart and blah, blah, blah.
So with her reveal, so I like it, and I think it was natural because...
I don't think it was natural.
Hear me. Let me explain why I believe.
Okay.
So when, he's saying, like, oh, she likes her, he kind of reveals that he likes her, and then, like, she finally got that acceptance, and then she started breaking down, like, almost crying because she had, like, this quote-unquote secret. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, you're not going to like me if I told you who I really am. Mm-hmm. Right? So I think she still likes him, but this is just something that she felt that, like, thought like a darkness in her, she thought. Mm-hmm. So she revealed this part of her just to be like, oh yeah, just so you know, this is also who I am.
I don't think she likes him. I think she told him who she was.
No, I think she likes him.
And, spoke her truth. I don't think she likes him in that aspect.
No, I think she does.
Based on what happened, because you would have had, like, that was building up to be a romantic scene. You don't just cut that off if that's going to happen anyway. You know what I mean? Like, you had a natural buildup of them together. They had, like, the giggle fest with the sodium pentothal inside of them, where, like, the truth serum. You have Dustin and little Erica get them out of there, which little Erica's a whole conversation. And you had that whole aspect of it, right? You had them kind of building up into... You had the beginning with Dustin kind of being like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, this girl's amazing. Into she becomes part of this. She decodes the Russian... signals. She figures it out in the mall, which was awesome. Where she's like figuring out everything. And
she's like when blue meets yellow in the wet.
Oh, it was great. This time. And she's like standing on like the middle part of the mall. I love the 80s mall too. It was great with all the like kids with the fashion
and also
stuff.
Brought up the social situation with the malls when they first came out. A lot of small businesses were closing.
Yes,
and you kind of saw that briefly, but you saw that like, oh, this is what happens when corporate America comes in.
Yes,
and then you saw the political corruption.
Yes. With Carrie Ellis as the mayor.
Yes, which was good with the Russians.
Yeah.
I'm a little upset about David Harbour not hooking up with Winona Ryder.
I think because he's not dead.
Well, yeah, all right, so we're going to talk about it?
He's not I'm just saying in the trajectory thing, I think it's because it's not over. That story isn't over.
It's not. No. But I like how the teacher and then even the Russian guy, they're like, wait, they haven't hooked up yet?
Yeah.
And they started laughing.
And they started laughing, and they're like, they haven't. He's like, I told them after sex. And he's like, wait, they haven't had sex?
By the way, the Russian being captured, what's his name?
Alexei
Smirnov.
Yes.
Alexei Smirnov. Alexei was great. I thought he was a good actor. I thought they played well with it. Mm-hmm. And that dealing with the whole adult version of it and dealing with it was great.
I will say one thing that was a little odd to me. So
the paper?
No, not even that. Like coming off of season 2,
okay,
was basically a Hopper and Eleven story, and it was very much enclosed in that like relationship and them trying to learn to live with each other. And like Hopper has so many vices and demons of his own that he's dealing with, right? Like he's not someone that you really want your mom dating. Because he's just...
I have my mom date Hopper, sure.
Bro, he's an alcoholic. He's depressed. He's got so many vices that he needs to deal with.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a good dude, but he's out of his mind. I think part of that is his family and the loss of his original family.
Yeah.
And I think Eleven's been helping him get back to that, and I think Joyce is another aspect of that that's going to help him.
Yeah, but Eleven is his daughter. Like, Eleven is his daughter. For all intents and purposes, his daughter.
But here's my question. Like, you have 11 in season 2. She's a girl with powers.
Yeah.
She's still a girl with powers.
Yeah.
It went from like she is with him under lock and key 24/7 to like now it's like I don't even know where she is.
It's part of growing up, I think. I think that's what it is. It's like, oh, like that's my kid, that's my daughter. It's like direct like back then it's like, oh, you're a dad and your daughter, you don't want to leave her out. It just happens she has special people want her, so you're even more protective. But eventually all kids grow up and start like leaving the nest.
Yeah.
And that's the that letter that he was writing and Joyce was helping him write. Like, oh, I know you're growing up without her, but just please keep the door open. Like, let me
3 inches.
Be a part of your life, right? And so like it was the whole dealing with that. Like, oh, I'm not going to be as involved. Like, no parent is going to be as involved the older the child grows. The child gets bigger and bigger and more distant.
And they start figuring themselves out.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. I thought it was natural.
It was just for
the opposing opposite of just going from, she is special. She has these gifts. It's almost like the Clark Kent aspect, right? Like we have to protect him at all costs so no one knows about him because they will try to exploit him.
Yeah.
Same thing. It just seemed a little odd that it went from that to that quickly, in my opinion.
Now, do you think with 11, do you think she's going to get her powers back?
I do.
I think so, too.
I think so, too. I think she
just is like drained out. She was using them so much.
That, and I think whatever was inside of her that she forced out of her leg was part of it, too. But, again, we'll get to that. But as far as characterization, I thought the Dustin, Robin, and Steve part was great. I thought Hopper and Joyce teaming up after, like, he's asking her out on dates, and he's, she's figuring out the magnets, and she's at the house, like, their teacher's house.
Oh, yeah, and she's
figuring
out,
her up. And he's like, why don't you go back there and have dinner with him? And he's, like, all mad and stiff about it. And he gets drunk at the restaurant by himself and leaves with the bottle.
Well, it was great. He's grabbing a bottle. Sir, you can't do it. He's like, I can do whatever I want. I'm the chief of police.
I'm the chief of police.
And he grabs
it and leaves, which is
total power move.
Just badass. And then you have the other aspect of the Mind Flayer on Earth and Billy.
I loved Billy in this season.
I liked Billy in this season.
He's dead.
He is, and it's upsetting.
He's such a good actor.
I love the beginning with... It was so great how they continued that great scene from last season.
Where the moms want to bang
Yes,
Billy?
And he's
it's
just
great.
the hot lifeguard, and he comes out, and all the moms are like kind of like stiffening up when he comes by.
And he's like, nice suit. And she's like, oh.
Yeah, and Mike's mom, who's like total smoking MILF, is...
You think so?
Oh,
I
yeah.
really don't think so.
Yeah, she's got it.
You would?
Yeah.
I mean, I would too because I'm a hoe. But I mean, like, I don't think she's like a smoking hot MILF. I was like, oh, she's in...
Bro, for 80s, like, hot mom, yeah. So, anyway, I thought that was really funny, the aspect of, like, she's so, like, midlife crisis-y bored with her life.
Yeah.
That she, like, they gave her a little bit more of a story, right? Like, her son's Mike, who's dating 11. Her daughter is working for this newspaper, which is classic 80s male business types, right? And
the other parents really didn't do much.
No, not at all.
That's fine.
But, like, she's, like, bored with her life. She comes home and, like, her husband's asleep all the time and has no idea what's going on. She's having a midlife crisis, wants to feel wanted, wants to feel loved, wants to feel young again.
She was going to cheat.
And she was thinking about
That's
it,
the most
man.
important thing. Not thinking about it. She said, yeah, I'll meet you there. She was going to do it. She chickened out.
I kind of wanted to see the aspects of that happen.
I kind of wanted to see her go to the hotel and be like, oh,
by the way, I'm not for adultery. I wanted to see the storyline play out in a specific way for this. I thought it would have been really interesting. Because Billy, again, he's on his way to this hotel, and something hits his car.
Yeah.
And he spins out, his car stalls, and he gets literally sucked into this abandoned warehouse where the Mind Flayer is and gets taken over. And he starts basically... get almost like The Village, or like it's some type of cult following where he's capturing people, infecting them.
How great was that, by the way?
It starts becoming a hive, like a hive mind.
I love the hive. I was like, oh, they're taking over the city, or the town, I should say, because it's a small town.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Anybody can be infected. And the kids pick it up in it too. Like, wait a minute. What if he's got this and this? What if there's more infected? But eventually all the other infected died.
And he takes over the other girl that's working at the Heather, who's working at the pool as well as a lifeguard, and then he like goes to their house and they set up this thing where they like knock the parents out.
Oh my god, that was brutal.
And she like knocks her dad out, and like it's so great. He wakes up and it's almost like he thought, like, again, this is the 80s, right? So this is not even 10 years after like the 70s and Charles Manson and like some of the craziest crimes of the 70s that are still some of the craziest crimes in America happened. So this is the 80s. He wakes up and he has this, like, the dad has this line, like, whatever he's gotten you into, we can help, we could get you out of. And immediately I was like, oh my God, like, he's thinking that she's a part of, like, some death cult, like some Charles Manson thing, like the look of, like, oh my God, how could this be my daughter? I thought was really well done, even though it's a very small part of this show.
Still.
I thought it was a great part.
Homage to it.
And then they start just grabbing. The old lady with the rat was great, where she's like eating the. They go out and she's eating everything. I was like, God. But yeah, they start investigating, right? Like Jonathan and what's her face, the daughter.
What's her face?
Yeah, her name's Natalia in real life.
Forgettable name. I don't know.
Yeah, but she they're going into like start investigating. She wants to be a reporter.
Well, speaking of, What I did like about this when they were at the paper, especially in the 80s, you saw how the misogyny of the men. Like, oh, yeah, honey, you forgot my mustard on this. Like, you could...
Yep.
Like, it just further colored the world that they were living in to sell it to me. Like, oh, this is the 80s. Yeah, men were dicks to women, especially men in power. I was like, cool.
Yeah, it was...
Cool that happened. I was like, cool that they showed it.
It was like, yeah, you are a secretary. Your intelligence doesn't matter. What
care.
You know doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's terrible, man.
Like, it was really plain. And it, like, you felt for her, too. Like, she was literally like, hey, something's wrong. You guys... Like, and it wasn't even like, I'm trying to take credit for it. It was like, hey... Something's wrong.
Check this out.
We should just can someone just check it out? And it was just like pig-headed, crazy shit. So you felt it worked, and it worked beautifully. They get fired from their internship and they start investigating it on their own, which was great. She has a great scene with her mom in the kitchen where her mom's like, "Hey, if you feel like you have to do this, you should do it." You know? But anyway, like Billy again starts having these things. Then one of the best aspects is 11 and Max's relationship.
That was so fun. Like,
how
Max
they were
wanted
growing.
to be a normal girl.
Yep. And they went to the mall and they were doing stuff and she breaks up with Mike.
I dump your ass.
I dump your ass.
I love it.
Because, like Mike was very overprotective of her, obviously. But Mike was also right about a lot of things, like using her powers too much and she's not a weapon. Like, she's a person. We have to, like, you know what I mean?
Let's be fair. The only reason she dumped him was because he lied and said, I had to go help grandma.
Yes. And also Max was putting a lot of that into her head.
No, into her. And Hopper was like, stop seeing my daughter.
Yeah, Hopper scaring Mike, but he did that because of Hopper.
Yeah, that was cool.
Which 11 finally finds out. But I like seeing 11's growth as just like a normal girl where they do like the shopping montage of clothes and they're giggling and laughing. Fun, yeah. And then the girl who's like making fun of them, she like pops her soda in her face.
Normal stuff.
Normal
nice.
superpower. And then they have the sleepover. And
Hopper freaked out.
Hopper freaked out thinking it was Mike and it's just Max in there. And he's like, oh, carry on. So she has this awesome scene where like they're playing this game of like almost like spin the bottle, but it's just the two of them. But 11's going to go and see what that person's doing.
That, by the way, I thought that was a good transition to try to get them on Billy's case, right?
Yes.
Because Billy was, like the mind slayer. You didn't know what was happening.
Yep. And he was getting burns in the sunlight.
And now, yep. So them doing the spin the bottle, I thought was a smart transition to get that because normal kid thing, they play spin the bottle, but this is just spin the bottle to use
superpowers
to try to spy on somebody.
Yep.
They spy on the boys, which I thought was fun. You see the one boy fart, you see all that.
That was great.
It was great.
And 11 starts dying laughing.
Like, it was fun, and then they went to see what Billy was doing. Like, a lot of this was like normal things.
First of all, you can't just glaze over a fart like that. That was wicked, dude. That was like a
You have smell-o-vision? Yeah, it was effect. You have smell-o-vision? You see?
I don't have smell-o-vision.
I have it. Smell like apricots.
Apricots?
No, I said apricots.
What the hell's an apricot?
It's an apricot, but fancier.
But like, anyway, so like she does that, and then it finally lands on Billy. And I think the greatest part before she does it, Max is like, just so you know, Billy is into some weird stuff. She's like, what do you mean? Like, he might be with a girl, and she might be like screaming, and 11's like, screaming? Like, no, like happy screams. And like, what are happy screams?
I'm gonna give you my mom's Vogue. Don't worry.
It was so great. Just like the innocent stuff like that. And she's like, I don't know. Like, girls go into his room and start screaming happily, and like it almost like Max doesn't fully understand it either.
I think she knows.
I think she knows, but it was like still like the innocent child thing. So she goes in and she sees Billy like over Heather. Captured her and she's about to be turned into the mind flayer, and he sees her though, and she comes back out, and that's how kind of that starts, and the kids kind of gather up.
What do you think of the mind flayer being formed by like human flesh and bones and stuff?
Rats?
Yeah,
I thought it was really cool and interesting.
Did you like it?
I did.
I liked it.
I did because of the basis of
Is that what they look like in the Upside Down, though?
I don't think so. I think the whole point of it was this: the Upside Down was not fully opened.
Yeah.
It was being opened by the Russians. They were testing it. They were trying to get very like 80s Cold War-esque awesome stuff with like...
Who do you work for? Scoops!
Yeah, exactly. Very like, Russian like communist versus capitalism thing going on. I thought they had, with the machine that they used to try to open to the Upside Down, there was a connection. That's why I was able to like be alive and start taking things over, but I don't think it was alive enough that it was like fully connected to the Upside Down where it was taking its natural form. So that's why it needed all the rats and it needed all the bones and the people and the. I thought that was really cool. Dude, I was totally okay with it.
The scene in the mall when they used the fireworks when 11 came
that was awesome.
I loved it.
I thought 11 with that thing in her leg and Jonathan had to like cut it into her and his like whole hand was in her leg.
It was so
it was so gnarly, man. And then she's like, I'll do it myself and uses the force to like rip it out of her and she's like, ah! And everyone's like,
her using it when they,
it was crazy.
They attacked the cabin, she was like,
that was great.
Ripped it apart,
ripped it in half, and then it was like slowly sewing itself back.
Oh, it was so good.
Oh, it was awesome. But yeah, I thought that was great.
I think my biggest disappointment in this season, though, was that Billy died.
I don't, man. I don't think so. When season 2 ended, the Duffer Brothers, who are the creators of Stranger Things, said, we do have a big plan for Billy next year.
Yeah.
I don't think he was a character you needed to stay around as long. I would say,
but I liked it.
I would say I would have liked more of the home aspect. I thought in season 2, right, you get kind of like Billy's just this dick to Max, and we don't really know why. Then you get that backstory of his stepdad who abuses the shit out of him. I would have
his mom
and beat his mom.
Mom left.
Yep, I think that would have been a nicer aspect to kind of see what happens. And we did see, like, with 11 in his memory, right? His happiest memory, which was cool. And they gave him kind of like a tribute before death.
By the way, we got like a Batman vs Superman moment in this, and I didn't like it. So when Billy is like strangling 11 and like she's dying and like getting hurt, he just starts talking about her mother. And he's like, she was wearing a yellow dress. And I was like, this is a Martha scene. That's exactly how I felt. I felt that was a cop-out.
I was okay with it because it's, again, like, Billy he's, arguably 17, 18.
Yeah, but...
He works out every day. Like, Max is like, he works out like a fiend. He's probably just puffing and puffing because he works out. There's no... With 11 without her powers, there's no way she's stopping Billy if he's choking her out. Right?
Without her powers.
Without her powers. There's no way. She's a 13-year-old girl, 14 maybe. She's not going to overpower this fully grown man who is trying to kill her. I think that was honestly the only way to stop him, was to appeal to Billy, not the Mind Flayer taking him over. She needed something to jar Billy out of what was happening. It wasn't as simple as like, what did you say? What did you say? What's the name? Like, it wasn't as simple as that.
I think then if they would have kept that, I'm not terribly mad about that. It's fine.
I'm not mad at all about it.
But like the scene where Billy was walking down the hallway, going to get 11 right before that, and Max is like, "Oh, you're Billy. You're this, and this," and it had no effect. If he would have at least hesitated for a little bit, maybe this is me. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Maybe this is me being nitpicky, but like him, like kind of realized a little bit, like maybe that was enough to like jar a little bit, but not enough, and then like. He does his thing. That would have further sold me on, 11's bringing back another memory. Like, all right, there was already a little small crack, like, in his conscience because Max's kid sister, which she was doing all this for, essentially to protect her so she didn't get beat from the abusive father, right? So, like, all right, if he would have had a little crack about his sister and then 11 bring up the mother stuff, I think would have sold it better for me.
I don't know if I needed that. Like,
okay.
I think... all Max said was like, you're Billy, you're not this.
You live at this.
That doesn't really tell me, like, we know this, and that is also a panicked version of her and like trying to really quickly think in that moment before he takes 11 and knocks out Mike and her. The fact that you already had that. 11 was in... the book, the very heavy books.
Too many books.
The fact that you already had 11 in his mind seeing that memory gives it to you before that scene happens, right? Like 11 is, I think, 2 times in his mind and sees the beginning of it with him surfing and talking to his mom, and then like he's looking for her, and you see this like cloud.
That's a kid from Fuller House, and I love that
Netflix really?
Pulled him in.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So like you see both of those aspects happen, and then you see kind of like, by the time she's like, your mom wore a yellow dress and blah blah blah, she's already been in his mind for that the whole time. Max has not been in his mind for that memory. She just knows about it, probably, but she hasn't been in his mind. So I was okay with it because I didn't... They already set it up that way because 11 was already in his mind. But anyway, one character I definitely want to talk about is Erica. We haven't talked about.
Who's Erica?
The little sister of Lucas who helps Steve.
She was cute.
And
she was
Dustin.
cool.
I thought she was so annoying in the beginning.
Really?
Where she was just coming in asking
like a mall rat.
She was a mall rat coming in for free samples of ice cream without paying.
That's fine.
Yeah, because you do that.
No, I thought it was just what a kid thing. I didn't dislike it.
She was annoying.
It helped sell this is what mall rats were like in the 80s. That's fine.
Yeah, and then
I didn't not like it for a story point of view.
Well, no, there was no story in the beginning with her. It was just I want ice cream.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I didn't like it because of the character was annoying. It's not like I didn't like it because of the story, what it added to the world. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I just thought she was annoying because it was it was
fine.
taking a break of stuff I wanted to know about the Russian decoding.
Okay.
But then they added her and she goes through the ventilator system and gets to the elevator, opens the door for them, and they sneak into the Russian hold. That was really cool. I thought she was really entertaining by the time.
I did like when her and Dustin were talking,
Mm-hmm.
and he was trying to stop the. I was gonna say windmill, the fan from spinning.
Yeah,
and they're talking about what a fan is and what what a nerd is and what it's not, and how you could be a nerd without being in the typical sense.
Yes,
and how she was.
And he's like, "You're a nerd,"
and I like that. She's like, "Oh, I like math. He's like, you like My Little Pony? And it's Dungeons and Dragons and Monsters is the same world, isn't it?" And she's like, "Oh, so it's great because there's different version of nerds, and it also helps sells it to young kids that just because you like these different kind of things doesn't mean it's a bad thing. You're a nerd, and that's cool.
Yeah, and
you saved the day. You beat the Russians.
You beat the Russians, yeah. And she she figured out the math equation really quick, and he's like, "How'd you do that?" She's like, "I'm good with numbers." And he's like, "Oh, you're a nerd." She's like, "Don't put me in a category with you. I'm not like you,
my brother,
like my brother." So that was great.
I love it. And then when they met up, the brother was like, "You're in this." She's like, "Yeah, I didn't believe it, but now I have."
It's called child extortion. That was great. So yeah, I liked her aspect. But again, Will I thought had a great arc, which we didn't touch upon. Him destroying his house, his tree, his fort, and kind of disowning who he was, because he thought basically his friends grew up and forgot about him, kind of because he was in. I felt that was more the aspect. He was in the Upside Down so long his friends forgot what didn't care about him.
I was also very worried what they were going to do with Will because out of all of them, he arguably probably has the least amount character development and screen time that we've seen.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, you have to do something with him that make him interesting and still relevant today.
Yeah.
Oh, his friends are moving on and growing up, and he's not. He's kind of slacking in the social world. He just wants to be a kid. He hates himself. He deals with that. Flips out. He doesn't like who he was. Destroys his thing. I thought that was a nice character arc to keep that character alive and prevent him from falling too much below the other ones.
I like that too, and I like that what you said there too. He doesn't have the most development of everyone, and I think they doubled down on that in the right way, right?
They did.
They showed exactly why he didn't have the he's not as developed as everyone else, and he isn't progressing. Whether it's puberty or just mentally or emotionally like everyone else, because he's been in hell for the past 2 seasons. And I also liked how he kind of had his own Peter tingle, right? It was oh my god, it's close. He could feel
Peter
it
tingle.
because it was in him. It was in him, and it was a part of him for a long time. And it was kind of and they explained the mind flayer was the thing that escaped him after his mom got it out of him and kind of Voldemorted itself somewhere else and hid until the right time.
So I like that you said Peter tingle aside from it being funny. So I think 11 and Will, because we're gonna see
now that they're kind of brother and sister.
They're kind of brother and sister, but I think they're quote unquote powers are going to grow, and that's going to be essentially a danger device. Yeah. It's going to turn into a spider sense. Oh, there's dangers around.
Danger's near. Danger.
Whether it's the mind flayer, or whether it's just some guy gives them a vibe and he can feel it, and then think 11's going to control her powers a little bit better. She doesn't need to bleed and stuff like that.
Maybe. Now, because the adult ones were bleeding last season too.
Yeah, but she's been using it, so you know what I mean. So I'm eventually, if you use it enough, maybe you get better at it. I don't know, but at the end, we do see that they're moving, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm going to ask you, with them and the show as a whole, because we know we're getting season 4, do we see a small time jump? Or
I think we do. I think
a year?
Yeah, I think a year or two is going to go down the line because those kids are at the age now where it's they've hit the teen years in real life. They're going to have growth spurts. You know what I mean? Even if you look at Millie Bobby Brown from season 1 to now.
And Mike, too. They've all grown from now.
And they're all Lucas, I think, in real life has a goatee.
He does.
It's what?
So they do a time skip. They go away. He comes back for high school. Because high school, you have 26-year-olds playing in high school.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
People could play with that. So, all right, they come back in high school, a year or two has passed, and they kind of regroup, and they go through high school. And then the other kids are starting college. So like they could act and play their age. I think that'd be fine.
I could see that. I could see
They
it
move
just
back to Hawkins.
Yeah, I could see it being a year or two when they just started high school. And you could have to just
11 has a new boyfriend, and they have to deal with that. How annoying that'd be.
maybe
That'd be cool.
Maybe because she does leave and she tells Mike that that she loves him too.
That was cute. I love he got mad because I love her, and she's like, "What did you say? Nothing."
Nothing. So that was interesting, and then because she left it open for them to like communicate still.
Yeah.
But we'll see how long distance goes.
I really think that it'll be a year or two time skip. Oh, this is maybe all I want.
Okay.
A year or two time skip. They start high school. She comes back, but she has a new boyfriend. Mike this whole time has been waiting, hasn't done anything because he thinks when she comes back they're going to be together, and there's going to be some tension.
I actually felt worse for Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Will's brother, because when he leaves, he's like in a legit relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like with Mike's sister. So like that's like they were like together all the time. Like at the beginning of the first episode, she wakes up, she's like, "We're late for work," jumps out the window.
Yeah.
They're still like hiding that they're together.
And mom Joyce was like, "Yeah, I know you were there."
I know. Yeah.
Hey,
Joyce's like, "I don't care."
You should have been like, "Why'd you jump out the window?"
Yeah.
I would do that as a parent.
You missed breakfast. What are you doing?
I'd be like, "You want breakfast?"
Yeah, right. You want waffles?
Or you want to pretend you weren't in my bed, in my son's bed? What are you doing?
So like she jumps out and then they go to work, but like it's like they had a legit relationship.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that Jonathan didn't choose to stay because his relationship was so much more down the line.
16, man.
He's not 16 now. He's got an internship. This is post high school.
He didn't graduate, did he?
Yes, this is post high school.
Yeah, they're all in the same grade.
Because Steve is the same with them. So they're like 18, 19.
Why didn't he stay?
Right? I mean, because obviously the trauma his mom and Will have gone through the past 3 years.
I mean, to be fair, like if I was in that situation, I would go with my family too, because I was like, all right, my mom's been through a lot. She just lost Harper. My brother was in a demon world. I gotta make sure
my brother was in a demon world.
And now I have a new kid sister, 11, who's like doesn't have powers,
superpowers, but doesn't have powers.
She got experimented on. I gotta take care of these people. Who's gonna do it if I can't?
Then why didn't she go with him?
She's a bitch. That's why.
Because it sucks. That's
yeah,
why.
you freaking terrible woman.
Suck.
No, why? Because she's got a life here. Who's her mom and dad again?
Her mom's the hot mom.
The hot mom.
And with the dad who's asleep all the time.
Yeah,
with the really bad pants.
And her brother's Mike.
And
right?
brother's Mike. Yeah. Why didn't she go?
Why didn't she
right?
go?
Like, doesn't make sense.
Joyce got another kid. It don't matter. One more, it don't matter. You knew they were banging. I mean, like, come on. You were going to give him breakfast.
You were going to give him breakfast.
2 minutes ago.
But yeah, no, I thought that was a little odd, but interesting for storyline down the line.
They're probably going to, like, because they're adults, they're actually going to do more long distance. They're going to meet up with each other.
Yeah.
And that's going to be like, oh, I just came from Hawkins. Here's what's happening. Like, that's going to be...
Maybe, yeah.
If they don't move back and then leave them outside Hawkins, because I think the writers want to take this outside Hawkins.
I think so too. I don't think it's gonna, because Will is leaving. I think they're like, hey, we're done. We're escaping this. This has nothing to do with us anymore. No, sir. And plus, you took 11 with you. This is all about 11.
Exactly. So, but like, I think this is the
it's
way
going to be
we have
outside
a
of
vehicle
Hawkins.
from Hawkins people to get to there.
Yes.
So she's like, oh, load up. Hey, we're going to go see them, see what's going on.
And then maybe it's like, hey, if this is the case, if it's going to follow us wherever we go, I'd rather be with the people that can protect us and know about this in Hawkins than somewhere else where people
not
have no
even.
idea
I think
what's
maybe something happened again somewhere else, and they go to them and try to find them. And
maybe,
let
yeah.
them know. Or
Yeah.
vice versa. It could be them not being together allows for her to drive to where they're going.
Yeah. So, like, we'll see what happens, but
I feel like the never-ending story.
Oh,
I was so cute when they were singing it.
I honestly was probably one of the few people who was just like, yeah, I don't need this.
What?
I didn't need it at all.
It's the never-ending story, though.
Yeah, I just, it was...
It was cute. It was funny. It was like that same moment with Ned and Spider-Man.
It was a little predictable. Like, I knew she was going to show up eventually, right? I think everyone knew that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
where like she's talking about it, everyone's like, I don't think she's real. I don't think she's this.
So great.
And I'm like, she's going to show up in an episode. Watch.
Dustin was like, even you, Scoops? He's like, yeah. He sounds kind of fake.
Yeah, he was like, no, I totally believe you, buddy. He's like, you hesitated. What? No,
she's
real.
real. She sounds great.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, no. So we knew that was going to happen. I liked better Lucas and Max making fun of him for it.
Oh, it was great.
Afterwards, I thought that was better than the song. Personally.
I mean, yeah.
I thought it was way
but
better.
The song with them singing together was still like, and they were all like
everyone's just like, what
the monsters are chasing, and everybody's like, what the fuck? And they're listening to these two kids, and like the not Demogorgon, the Mind Flayer's chasing them, and they're driving, they're like,
what is happening? Yeah, it was like so weird. But I get it. It was a cute moment.
I was upset when Smirnoff died.
I was too. Alexei died. We got to talk about Maury.
Povich?
No.
What does he have to do with it in this?
No, Maury.
Did he get a cameo?
No, the other Maury. Hopper's friend Maury, the guy who's very paranoid about everything.
Yeah, the reporter.
So he's awesome. I love that he was the bridge of like, of course he would be the one who knows Russian and knows like the language.
Yeah.
I like how all the paranoid stuff. I love the scene where like he's like, "You let him go," and Hopper's like, "I've dealt with guys like this. He's not going anywhere." He's like, "He's getting in the car. He's turning the car on. He's driving away."
And Joyce is like, "Go!" And he stops. He's like, "Yeah, let's go back."
Yep, and he has like the moment like, "Yeah, I told you."
Strawberry Slurpee. Did you see on Free Slurpee Day they were like, "Be like Smirnoff," or like, "See, I like Smirnoff. Yeah, be like Smirnoff and get a slushy."
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
So like, yeah, I thought Maury had a really good aspect to it, and he actually helped out. Like he left his house, helped them get into the bunker. You know,
he was
goes
enjoying
in guns
American life
blazing.
at the carnival.
He was.
Like, look, I won. He want to watch Looney Tunes. He got Woody Woodpecker.
Yeah, and he was high fiving the little kids because he got he popped the balloons.
I thought when the Russian Terminator, he looked like Terminator.
Yo, for real, he was just. I kept calling him Terminator.
When Terminator shot him,
didn't he like break his leg and still walk or something? It was ridiculous.
He might be experimented too. We might see that next season. You never know. But no, he died.
Yeah, he got like, real dead.
Low and lowered.
Yeah, he got Steve Buscemi in Fargo.
When he got shot through the Woody Woodpecker, for some reason I thought, Woody stopped. I thought this stuff.
Actually, for a second I was waiting for it to go. And like when he got shot, I thought it was gonna hit the voice box and laugh, and he was gonna die.
That would have been great. That's a missed opportunity.
I was like, why did they do the voice? They could have had the laugh.
Trademark, probably.
Right? Maybe. But yeah, that was sad. And then Maury was like getting him a corn dog or something, and he dies. And then they have to escape. So that was a great little twist, and they had to keep going. And then they, the key thing, Hopper's. So we got to talk about obviously the ending.
All right. Hopper's alive.
First of all, like when they stopped the mind flare prior to Hopper going down there, and Hopper has this great moment with Elle. In the mall after like her legs all tied up from being sliced open and and he basically is like, listen, like you've done enough. This thing is after you. Like let me take care of this now. Like let me do my job. Let me protect you. Just you need to go to safety. Like you're a kid. You shouldn't have to deal with these things. Let me just do this in my fluorescently Hawaiian shirt, which I thought was a great touch. And Joyce goes and like she's like I have to end this, like because it involves her family every time.
Yeah.
So they go down and they follow the plan, and Maury's kind of underground in the little tunnel, and Hopper's fighting Terminator, and he wood chips him through the machine, and then like the electro kind of magnetic seals him off from getting back to safety. And then he looks at Joyce and kind of gives her like you just do it. Like you got to stop this thing. She turns the keys and everyone gets disintegrated and blows the thing up, and they get out of there, and her and Maury escape. And we think Hopper's dead. And there's this.
I never thought he was dead.
I didn't think he was dead either.
They made the illusion that he's dead.
But they have this great scene where it's kind of like a couple months afterwards. They show like in the paper like that he died in the fire at the mall or whatever. And they go into the letter where Eleven's reading the letter and crying, and everyone else is crying. Very emotional letter. And he mentions, keep the door open 3 inches. For your dad's sake, just keep the door open 3 inches, and like I know you're growing and blah blah blah. Great, absolutely amazing letter. He took like Joyce's advice and kind of remade it to make it his own. And the after credit scene gets directly put into from that.
Wait, what?
Well, at the end of Hopper's death and the end of the show, because we see them move away, but the after credit scene.
There's an after credit scene?
Rob, there's an after credit scene.
No.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
No.
You really didn't see the after credit scene.
No.
Get the hell out of here.
No.
You didn't see the after credit scene.
No.
You didn't know there was an after credit scene.
No. What happens?
So
is this a surprise?
No, this wasn't.
Oh my god!
This wasn't even a surprise.
The after credit scene?
So the after credit scene is after they drive away and move away.
Yeah.
The credits roll, and then it goes to this after credit scene where they're in Russia, and they're in like a Russian prison.
Who is?
The Russians.
Okay.
And these guards are walking down, kind of like the prison cell, but they're not like bars; they're completely metal doors. So the guy goes to open one of the doors, and he says in Russian, but they translate it like, no, don't take the American. They want to save him for something later. But we don't see who it is. Everyone thinks it's Hopper because the Russians called him the American the entire time. So they go next door to this other cell where they take out this Russian like murderer or whatever.
Okay.
And they throw him almost like in this massive cage. And they open a door and he's like, please let me out of here. Like, I can't, like, please don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this.
Okay.
We don't know why. They hit this button and on the floor, this grate kind of comes up. Very much like Star Wars, like when they released the Rancor.
Okay.
And a Demigorgon comes out of it. White Demigorgon. Like, almost like albino. Looked a lot like the one Dustin had as a pet.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And the Demigorgon comes out like a dog, stands up, opens his face, and eats the guy.
Okay. Wow.
That's the end of the scene. So the Russians in Russia,
weaponizing Demigorgon.
they have a Demigorgon somehow because the door is closed and the Mind Flayer died and there's no connection. We don't know how they have one.
Oh, wow.
And also whoever the American is that the Russians have.
Who do you think the American is?
I think the American's Hopper. I think my theory...
It's Hopper?
My theory is this. Either... Because we know the Russians were working on this the whole time, right? Two options, right? My first option is because he was trapped behind that electromagnetic whatever, I feel like when people got disintegrated, he was protected from it because of that.
Oh.
Like, it almost created like a shield where he couldn't go back, but also he wasn't affected by the keys being turned.
Okay.
And probably got like knocked out during the blast. The Russians found him and captured him.
Okay.
Option number two, when she turned the keys, he, before the door closes, goes into the Upside Down and got taken out by the Russians on the other side.
Oh.
And is captured by the Russians.
Oh.
So I think Hopper is 100% alive.
Oh my God.
Yes, I think
Oh, wow.
he's 100% alive because they literally go to like a cell and the guy's like, no, not the American. They have plans for him, and they go to a different one because they were going to originally feed whoever this American guy was to the Demigorgon, and they fed someone else to the Demigorgon.
All right, now what's the surprise?
So the surprise is this. So there's been a lot of theories online post Stranger Things season 3. Let me get my phone. And David Harbour himself has been on Twitter changing his profile picture a lot, and he's been changing it to numbers. It was 6, then a 1, then an 8, then a 6 again.
6186?
Yes. And people have figured out that this number is Maury's phone number from his house. If you recall, Maury was very pissed off when he gave his phone number out. And flipped out and screamed.
Okay.
So I was like, what the hell? I'm going to call Maury's number.
Nah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it actually is registered in Illinois. And
that's where it is.
Yes, I'm going to play the message that is on Maury's phone, and I'm going to put it to the mic so everyone can hear it.
What?
And it's very interesting. I'll put it on speaker.
Hi, you have reached the residence of Murray Bauman. Mom, if this is you, please hang up and call me between the hours of 5 and 6 p.m. as previously discussed, okay? If this is Joyce, thank you for calling. I've been trying to reach you. I have an update. It's about, it's probably best if we speak in person. It's not good or bad, but it's something. If this is anyone but my mother or Joyce, well, you think you're real clever getting my number, don't you? Well, here's some breaking news for you. You're not clever. You're not special. You are simply one of the many, many nimwits to call here, and the closest you will ever get to me is this pre-recorded message. So, at the beep, do me a favor. Hang up and never call here again. You are a parasite. Thank you and good day.
Sorry, this mailbox is full and cannot accept any more recordings. Thank you for using the voicemail system. Goodbye.
And that's it.
Wow.
So
Fourth wall breaking.
That's
awesome.
So also,
oh, man, what a surprise.
the biggest hint in that is what he says, like, hey, if this is Joyce, I have something. You know what? It's better if we talk in person because I think it has to do with Hopper and the American and the Russians. I think Maury
It's not good or bad. He knows something.
I think he knows something and has figured it out. Isn't that crazy marketing? How it brought us into the world.
That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome? Did you like the surprise? Was it a good surprise?
Yeah.
Was it a good surprise?
And also the other credit scene I didn't know about.
You didn't know about apparently. Yeah, but so that was. I was like, let's just call it and see what happens. And I played it like 14 times to different people. But yeah, it's a very interesting. It's also brilliant marketing.
Smart.
But really interesting to see that. Hey, like he has something for Joyce. Also, is he calling Joyce in Hawkins? Is he calling Joyce's new residence?
I don't know.
You know, is
maybe the gang goes to Russia.
the gang goes to
Maybe-
the gang goes to Russia.
Russia.
Baklava.
They take yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they take a school trip to Russia.
It's gonna be Spider-Man: Stranger Things Far From Home. But like, yeah.
Don't
so
put that in my mind.
so like they have again like very interesting. He has
Oh my
something to
God.
tell Joyce. There's something next, and
I have an idea.
What?
So, you said David Harbour goes into the Upside Down.
Mm-hmm.
What if he goes inside of the Upside Down and he's in there for so long, like he gets affected and changed,
I think so.
and then he comes out as Hellboy? Crossworld, and it's Stranger Things is a prequel to Hellboy.
We can only hope not.
That'd be kind of cool. I don't know if I want it. But
Also, not only that, but as far as next season's concerned, depending on timing and you know how much older the kids get, you could really have Hopper come back and maybe be like the new Billy and be really affected, or he's taken over.
Oh no! I don't want him
Not
to
in the
do
aspect
that.
of like he has to die, but in the aspect of like he's affected so much, and you know,
He's like a Russian government spy.
who knows? Like they could be torturing him, they could brainwash him.
Brainwash. He's a
Like we
sleeper
don't know.
agent.
Yeah, like we have no idea what's gonna happen
Oh my
with him.
god! This is just turning into straight 80s conspiracy theories with some monsters and kids.
It's great.
And I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And the marketing to make it like fourth wall breaking, like it's happening in our world,
Top
is
notch.
so brilliant.
All right.
Which makes me like this more.
Ratings.
So yeah, rate it.
Go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I love this season. Might be the best season, arguably, since season 1. I don't remember my grade for season 1.
Just go with it now.
I'm gonna
What do you
go
feel in
with
your heart?
this. To me, would be probably an 8.5 or a 9.
I'm going with 9.
All right, I might go with 9 as well.
The marketing, I was going to bump it up, but
I
like
also like the fact that it was only 8 episodes,
it felt good.
and in my mind I was like, wow, is that almost too short? But they did it. They pulled it off in that
pulled it
amount of
off.
time. They didn't dilly-daddle. There was no like useless scenes that we didn't 100% need.
I would have liked another episode.
I did too. I mean, I would have been fine with more episodes. But I really liked it. I thought it.
I like the kids being kids, but it still worked.
Kids being kids were great. You know, Will wanting to play Dungeons and Dragons all the time was hilarious to me.
He's like, "Oh, why are you throwing
What
it
about
out?"
now?
Because when he threw out his D&D campaign, he's like, "This is the only campaign I'm going to be in."
The scene with the hospital scene was outstanding.
It was very good.
The scene at the house where they're fighting it off was great. You know, the fact that it was a story within a story, like everyone had their own story to tell before it all came together at the end for one cohesive story was great. Everyone got their screen time. Yeah, I absolutely loved the season. Way better than season 2 in my opinion. Possibly better than season 1 too. So
I think it's the best season yet.
yeah. I could agree. Yeah. All right.
All right, guys. That wraps up this episode of the Jersey Comic Group Podcast. Thank you so much for listening to our discussion on Stranger Things Season 3. Hopefully you learned a lot and you had a lot of fun discussing the show with us. Let us know in the comments down below what your favorite character is, your moment, scene. Make sure you give a like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening to the audio version, thank you so much. And make sure you give us a rating and share this with all your friends. As always, I'm Rob.
And I'm Kris.
And we'll see you next time.
JerseyComicGroup.podbean.com.